Hello and a wonderful welcome to you, my dear fellow shining being, from across all times, all spaces, and the multifold dimensions. It is I, Sylvia, coming to you live from beautiful Eastbourne by the sea, and we have a fantastic topic today. A fantastic can of worms, and I've got my can opener to the ready to let those happy worms escape and bring some love and logic into the crazy world of human beings. And I'm really looking forward to it. Emotional wellness, yeah. Oh, yeah. Wonderful good morning to my live viewers. And also, of course, a wonderful anytime to everyone who watches the replay. Well, let's get started right away. Today's energy show was inspired by a social media post that came across my radar just a couple of days ago. Yeah. So, I'm going to credit Aunt Tillman, from whose timeline I stole this, because I saw it and it just made me laugh. And so I posted it to my timeline, and it had just lots and lots and lots of responses. Good morning, dear Paul and Chamazier and Marina. So, for the radio listeners, I'm going to read it out. It's a happy man, sort of a 1950s style happy man wearing a suit. And he says, guys, when a woman is mad, just tell her she's overreacting. She'll realize you're right and calm right down. And the responses to this were absolutely hilarious. Most people went, oh my God, that's the worst advice ever. Some people were saying I should put a health warning on this meme, just in case somebody would see it and take it for real advice. There were just lots and lots of hilarious things. One gentleman wrote that he'd been doing this and it only cost him 3 marriages and a testicular reconstruction surgery. So, well, you know, this is an example, I would say, of emotional intelligence, is to read that and realize, compare this to your own life's experiences and realize that something really bad's going to happen if you're going to do that. That this is not going to happen. When a woman is mad and you tell her she's overreacting, she'll realize you are right and calm right down. And the absolute opposite of that is true and we don't have to restrict this to women. When a person is mad, just tell them they're overreacting. And they will realize you are right and calm right down. No, this is not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is that they're going to go completely insane, basically. And you might be in physical danger by doing that. So, yeah, emotional intelligence. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what is emotional intelligence? So I thought I'll look this up because I didn't know really what the sort of definition is of emotional intelligence in this entire world that I am not a part of, because I am a modern energist and I live in a different world. So let's just have a look. And the dictionary tells us that emotional intelligence is the capacity to be aware of, control and express one's emotions, and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. And there is a little quote under there: emotional intelligence is the key to both personal and professional success. And yeah, that's what dictionaries do. They put the phrase into a sentence to give it some context. And so yeah, that's really nice. It's a nice definition, and I like it, to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions. And to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously. That's a great phrase. I have literally no idea what that's supposed to mean. And empathetically. That's another great phrase that is like, what the hell are you talking about, people? And so what I did to the bigger picture of the field of teaching of emotional intelligence. This is something I always do, is I do an image search for emotional intelligence diagram. I did this with the stress management, the modern stress management, before I wrote that, just to see what the other guys out there without any energy intelligence are doing. And so, God Almighty, yes, and I was so shocked to see that the current stress management programs are driving people to -4, where they say the optimal stress resides, and this is just not true. Yikes. So yeah, let's just have a look what we see when we do an image search. When we do an image search on emotional intelligence, we see these yeah, whatever you call them, these diagrams with bubbles on them, and phrases and words. And something that I also saw when I was doing this, there was a question: how can I improve my emotional intelligence? And this was answered on the official website for psychology in the UK, for the Trade Organization for Psychology. And it says you can improve your emotional intelligence by labeling your emotions, because then you can get a mental handle on them. And I just went, oh God, facepalm, labeling your emotions so you can get a mental handle on them. Yeah, that's not going to work. That's advice that's nearly as bad as telling a woman that's upset to calm down and act more rationally. So, emotional intelligence. What is emotional intelligence? Well, it's being intelligent about emotions, don't you think? I think that would be kind of a thing. So here's our diagram. And our diagram doesn't have phrases, labels, and words. In fact, it hasn't got any words on it at all. It has actually pictures of little people on it. And someone told me that they didn't like this diagram because it looked too unscientific. And I'm sorry about that. But I tell you, it may be unscientific, but I will tell you that when a normal human being of upwards of age 3, anywhere in the world, regardless of their previous level of education, looks at that diagram, they can make sense of it. And what I would like to see is this diagram being engraved somewhere in a cave, so that future iterations of humanity can find it and start their civilizations with that diagram in mind. And then we would have a completely different level of civilization. See, the problem with the mainstream is they don't actually have a definition for emotions. They don't know what emotions are. And so that would be the 101 of emotional intelligence, to actually know what an emotion is. What is that? What's an emotion? Well, we have a completely simple definition to that. The emotions are the feedback system of our living energy bodies that are designed to inform us about, first of all, our own energy states. And here we come to, can I become more emotionally intelligent? And the psychology advice is to start labeling your emotions so that you have a mental handle on them. And that is exactly like this diagram doesn't have any words on it. It's only got these people expressing their emotions on it and what they're doing. In modern energy, we do not label our emotions because that is the wrong way to try and move them. Like, you can't move anger through a meridian. We found that out very early on in the EMO research, is that you can't move anger through a meridian. If you tell somebody to move their anger, it's just like, how, what? It doesn't work. It's stuck. Yeah. But when you tell them your anger is actually only energy, all of a sudden it does move. Flum. There's a reaction. It works. So, not labeling our emotions and instead focusing on the simple reality of the sensations that we feel in our physical bodies. Yeah, that's Lucian's language. That's how we talk about emotions in modern energy. And look up Lucian's language if you want to learn more about that. But we don't label our emotions. And this has so many benefits, I don't even know where to start. I mean, half the time, more than half the time, you can't even label your emotions. Things that you feel and how you feel, it just cannot be described in these emotion term words. You know, I'm sort of angry, but also disappointed and stressed and afraid, and all of these words just create this absolute mess that our mind cannot handle either. Nothing can handle that sort of thing. It's a completely wrong way to work with emotions. However, when we say to this person who came to us and said that they're angry and they're stressed and depressed and fearful and don't know what's going on and confused, and okay, breathe, take a moment. Assume the heart position, take a deep breath in and out. Where do you feel this in your body? Can you show me with your hands? And such a person might be like, oh, it's everywhere, it's in my head, and I can't breathe, and got this pressure on my chest, and this pressure in my neck and on my shoulders. But now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting closer to reality, the reality of the experience of that person's emotions. And now we have a leverage point. Now we have something that we can do for that person. We can do something. We can put our hands on their shoulders and say, just breathe deeply and just relax for a moment. How does that feel now? And the person might say, phew. Yeah, it feels like something is sort of sliding down my arms. See, and that again, now we have a reality-based description rather than my anger has turned into distrust and paranoia. Labels do not help us with emotions at all. And this is a message I have for the remaining 7.9 billion people who have never heard of modern energy. That is the message that I have. I have a question for you guys in the chat, but also for the viewers of this. Please take a moment and write down just a little comment of how you felt when you first encountered the modern energy chart and looked at it. How was that for you? Did a penny drop? Was there a moment of, oh my God, I'm starting to understand now? Please do tell me this. Let me know in your own words how you felt when you first saw the modern energy chart. I have shown this to many people, Many, many, many people. And the only question that comes up time and time and time again is, why haven't I seen this before? I've been doing personal development for 40 years. I've never seen this before. I'm a professor of psychology. I've never seen this before. Why haven't I seen this before? I can't answer the question. I cannot answer that question. I found this as a young woman with very little experience in research and behavior and psychology. I found this just by observing behavior in animals. It's simple, it's obvious, it's so structural, so structural. And so today I would certainly say that the very first beginning of emotional intelligence is to realize that we do have these living energy bodies and they transmit their states of being through our physical body. And that emotions are feelings in the physical body that have no physical origin. We also have the emotion scale, which is that these are all emotions. Intuition, the fine sensations in your body, the little prickles and shivers that warn you of danger, or that let you know there's something exciting or good awaiting you round the corner. Then we have that whole thing with the emotions that we don't label at all. We don't even have anger and hate and all this nonsense. It doesn't help to communicate because one person's anger may be in their throat, another person's anger may be in their stomach. One man told me his anger lives in his shoulders and in his fists. You know, this is no way to talk to someone else and tell them how you are feeling. Tell them about your emotions by using all these convoluted, meaningless words. Ugh. Yeah. Right, and then, what the next step is to emotional intelligence is to learn to map your own behaviors and states of being to the modern energy chart, and to learn to map other people's behaviors. And behaviors includes what they are saying, if it's, makes sense or is completely crazy, how they are saying it. Are they speaking in a nice, clear tone of voice, or are they screaming at you, or are they stuttering? How they're saying it. They're these things, The next thing is how are they behaving with that? Not just the words they're saying, the grammar they are using. Under stress, grammar breaks down and becomes, less and less grammatical, logical, structural. In the high energy states, language turns naturally into poetry, sounds and feels like poetry. But then there's their entire bodies are showing us how stressed they are. Their entire bodies show us whether they are frozen, locked up, trembling, whether their movements are erratic, like birds, like that, rather than smooth and flowing and natural and organic. There is mapping people's body states, what they're saying, the content of what they're saying, how they're saying it, how you feel about being in their presence. That's sixth sense feedback. That's the beginning. Mapping, just simply mapping that onto the modern energy chart so that you get used to being able to predict people's behavior based on the energy states that they are in. Once you start doing that, people become very predictable. They are no longer random, they are no longer scary, they are no longer crazy. but they are predictable depending on how stressed they are or how energy high they are. And that is the core of emotional intelligence. Being able to read a person's energy states. I'm not even going to call them emotional states. They are energy states. That's number one. To walk into a room and to be able to assess at a glance if that child is stressed, if that dog is stressed, if that man is stressed, if that group is stressed, and how stressed they are. To be able to notice that and assess it at a glance. And you can do that even if you're on the autistic spectrum, because you can see it with your own eyes, you can hear it with your own ears. You know, you can learn this. You can learn to see people's behaviors, body postures, hand gestures, the whole 9 yards. This is perfectly good as a starting point. And that's what we need if we then want to go into the other things like controlling behavior. So I would like to pick up on the chat here for a moment. Just pick up on the chat for a moment. I asked the question of how did you feel when you first saw the modern energy chart? And Paul said, it made sense. It was hard to believe that it was so simple. Yes. Yes, Paul. It is hard to believe that it is so simple. And that we come back to the question, how this being so simple, how is it possible that nobody ever saw this before? You know, I spent years searching for the modern energy chart, for the principles that I had seen there, because I was like, this is so simple. Everybody must realize, this must be 1,000 people must have figured this out. More over the course of humanity, surely, this being so simple. So this is something that I just can't explain. I don't know why. I can't explain. It is so simple. And I hope, Paul, that it has served you well in spite of its simplicity. So let's see. Marina, good morning, Marina. I'm sending you lots of extra sparkles and love, because I hear you've been under the weather. Marina says that the first time she saw the modern energy chart, I felt released from a block, and probably I understood energy in this quick way for the first time. That's really, thank you for sharing that. That's really a common expression. I have had clients just... I remember once taking the modern energy chart to our local accountant's office and just propped it up on the table because he'd said that it was tax time, April in England, I think, and everybody was just going mad with the stress in his office. So I went down there with a big modern energy chart, propped it on a chair and showed it to him. And his response to that was, like clients in an energized end state after you've really released an energy blockage, he could not stop talking about all the things that he connected in his mind. He just could not stop talking. It was first about himself and about the business and about a networking group he was working with. And he was literally going, oh, and that makes sense, and that makes sense. Oh, my God. And then he started talking about his favorite football team and how their recent, bad run of so-called luck made now perfect sense after having seen the modern energy chart. And so, yeah, that must have been some kind of blockage that was released because there was this outpouring. I couldn't get away from him. It was supposed to be half an hour. After an hour, I sort of started sidling from the room and he followed me into the car park. It was still talking, leaning into the car on the window. It was still talking to me about it. So yeah, I think it could release a massive energy block. Thank you for bringing that up. It's a really nice idea. Marina adds, and I thought how easy it was. Right. And so here we come to the emotional intelligence part 2. It's so easy to do something with this knowledge. Step 1 was to just start mapping the information from the modern energy chart onto what you see in real life, to make the connection between the diagram and real life around you. And that's the idea of a good map. A good map gives you something to hold on to and that you can consult, and it matches the actual environment that you see around you. So that's step 1. But now, the next step is to think to yourself, well, it looks to me as though it seems to be better to be on the positive side of the modern energy chart. It seems to be that those people there are happier, they have better relationships, they have more success in life, and there seems to be a direct correlation with how good your energy states are and how your life is working in general. So then the next thing comes along, which is actually a desire to experience better emotions and to get higher on the modern energy chart. See, this gives us a goal. It doesn't matter where you're at, doesn't matter what your life is like. If you get a little bit more energy into your life, somehow, you get more energy rich, as it were, then you have more of a chance at succeeding in whatever it is that you're doing. It'll help you heal faster. It'll improve the way it will improve your emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence, well, that's about apparently controlling emotions and being able to deal with others more beneficially. And then the question arises, but how? How do we get to be higher on the modern energy chart? How do we do that? It's a mystery. Do we have to start doing yoga? Well, no, we don't. One simple thing is that to realize when we bring our energy body down, when that happens, and here we come into this interesting idea of being able to control our own emotions. Once we've had the modern energy chart with us for a little while, we begin to realize what it is that we think or do that brings us down on the modern energy chart, and what things we can think or do that will raise us up on the modern energy chart. And that gives us an easy starting point with our emotional intelligence. As our goal is now decided that we want to be energy higher people. We don't want to be snuffling down there in the terrible low energy states anymore. We want to become energy higher. As we've decided that as a goal, we can now start to stop doing things that bring us down and start doing things that raise us up. So that's totally personal. I mean, what brings you down? What takes you down on the modern energy chart? What makes you insecure, afraid, stressed, paranoid, angry, freaked out? What does that? Twitter? Social media? Watching the news? Meeting a particular person who always has the worst stories to tell, the most depressing things to talk about? dealing with some weird thing in your environment that annoys you all the time. My dear Energy Mind just sent me a scene from a movie called It's a Wonderful Life. And there's a man and he has an old house which he is supposed to fix up, but he's too stressed to be dealing with that. And so when he goes up the stairs and puts his hand on the banister, the banister top is loose and it comes off in your hand. You're not supposed to hold on. It needs to be glued on or nailed on or something. And he just hasn't done it. And every single time he goes up the stairs, that banister's loose. He forgets. He pulls it off again, over and over and over again, till one day he just explodes in rage and throws it across the room. If you have something like that in your house, please fix it. Please just fix it. You don't have to fix it well, just fix it enough so it stops annoying you. Spotting these kinds of things in your own incarnation is so valuable, because every annoyance you can take out, every moment of negativity you can take out, will help your energy average raise higher. And, well, then there's the whole thing of dwelling on trauma and negativity all the time, finding fault in people all the time. That also really doesn't help our living energy bodies be stronger. Conversely, we start thinking about something that we love, that inspires us, that raises us up on the energy chart. We are doing the right thing for our living energy bodies. We are acting emotionally intelligently when we choose to do that. And so that's really our step 2 to emotional intelligence, is to find out what we do that brings us down and stop it. Find out what we do that raises us up and do more of it. Oh my, it could not be simpler if you tried. A version of this, and I wanted to include that today, is the no-yes principle. There have been uncountable studies where school classes, soldiers, people in factories were split into 2 groups. And one group was told, you're useless, you are terrible, you're crap, you should try harder, you're not working hard enough, you are just failures, you're miserable. And the other group was told, you are amazing, you are so talented at this. Wow, never worked with a group as good as this before. You are amazing, yes, wow. Yeah, and the studies show time and time and time and time again that the people who were said yes to, because that's just a version of saying yes, you're great, outperformed the people that were being criticized and hated on and undermined and all their little flaws pointed out. They didn't do well. They did terribly. There must be 10, 20,000 such studies having been conducted. What have we learned from this? How has this bled into popular culture, into popular awareness, that we need to start supporting things and saying yes to people and finding ways to say yes, and stop it with the endless criticism, the bullying criticism, the cancellation criticism, which is tearing our society apart and drives us into insanity. My God. You know, it's bad enough when I first invented this in 1993, but God Almighty, how much more do we need it today? I have no words. And see what Paul's thoughts on the topic are. Paul says, the modern energy chart has been very useful and practical in my life. But I first struggled to let go of the way everything tends to be overcomplicated by psychology and the masses set in their beliefs. Yeah, look, psychology has the essential problem that it has no definition for emotions. Imagine you were a horse trainer, but you had no definition for a horse. What is a horse? Imagine how difficult that would be if you had no concept of a horse, to come up with trying to deal with horses in any shape or form. It's impossible. What happened there is that people have made really, really crazy. Now you take out the straight path from point A to point B. The straight path is gone. Now you've got to go around the houses because you can't explain this thing, and you have to be ever more the divergences that you are taking, the reality divergences are becoming more and more lost in the woods. Like when you've really lost it with your sat-nav and it's now taking you off the motorway, down the A roads, down the B roads. Now we're into country lanes that haven't even got a name or a number anymore, into sort of tramply little paths in the desert. And at some point you just realize you're completely lost. And that's what happens in any field when the direct path between A and B gets taken away or gets lost or blocked. Perhaps it's just blocked. You know, we're talking about that. And when you see the modern energy chart, some sort of massive blockage releases, and all of a sudden, whoa, yeah. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Let's see what Linda says. It's certainly a choice to let go of being judgmental in order to be happier, but so difficult yet so transformative when accomplished in little steps. Yes, totally, absolutely, absolutely. And so here I do want to bring up something that is it's classically controversial, classic Sylvia heresy. Don't you just love my heresies? They're so good, aren't they? Yeah, this is something. So just have a look at this for a moment. We know that when energy states change, behavior changes. You know, physical behavior. That you can see, you can see on a video camera. Turn the sound off and watch people and you can tell. But what is also really interesting, and what's even more interesting about it, is that I learned this not with people at all, but with animals. I learned this with animals. Is that when the energy states go higher, the creature becomes more intelligent. In a measurable cause and effect. And that sort of can be proven by like how long it takes, say, a dog or a horse or a cat or a dolphin to learn something new. How long it takes to learn something new. That's a nice, easy research project that people can do and take animals, stress them or de-stress them, re-energize them, make them happy, raise their energy, and have them learn the same thing. They're creatures of the same kind, the same breed, and what you will find, just like in all those thousands of studies with soldiers and school children and, criminals, that the same thing happens. In higher energy states, more intelligence becomes available. Now, I can well imagine some academic stumbling into this video and starting to wanting to argue what is intelligence. What is that? Well, my definition of that would be just simply your ability to interact with your environment in such a way that it becomes beneficial for you. Find the best way to interact with your environment. That's my definition of intelligence. But see, the modern energy chart does something else that's super, super important. What it says is that you are not insane, crazy, paranoid, stupid, average, clever, smart, creative, a genius. You, individual person, are all of them. You are all of them. Rather than to slap a label on somebody that they somehow have to carry their lifetime, and frankly, I don't really care if this label is you are a genius, or this label is you are insane. Both are wrong. Or to label somebody stupid is just wrong, because that stupid person, when you raise their energy a little bit, isn't going to be stupid anymore. They're going to become, as you raise their energy, they'll become average, then they'll become clever, then they become smart. Raise their energy enough and they'll hit +10, and all of a sudden they'll have a genius idea or insight that will blow your socks off. That, I believe, is just so important, because this goes into the self-concept, People are going around and thinking, well, clearly I'm stupid, or I'm not very smart, or I'm not very creative, or I'm definitely not a genius. Definitely not a genius. And I would say you are. Of course you are. You've had +10 moments in your life where you were that high on the energy chart, and I absolutely guarantee it. If we have a session and I have to strap you to the couch to do it, I would get out of you a memory, a real memory of a time in your life when you had a fabulous idea which solved the problem at hand, which came out of the big blue yonder, and you were completely amazed that you had this amazing idea. And yeah, you were a genius too. And I absolutely guarantee that there were times when you were, average, stupid, paranoid, crazy, and insane. But we needn't dwell, because that's not important. Those times are not important. They don't count. There was no energy in them. We focus on the star moments. Somebody asked me here, what is the difference between clever and smart? Well, clever is being able to think about it, but smart is actually doing it. It goes with the energy chart. At 3, you have good ideas, but you don't have the energy to turn them into action. So you get a lot of clever people who, they think about doing something like, I don't know, starting a YouTube channel, or building a house, or restoring a motorbike, I don't know what. And they're very clever, and they have all these ideas about how to do it, but they don't actually ever do it, because simply they haven't got enough energy to go out and roll up their sleeves and get to work on it. So a smart person is somebody who is clever and active, and actively putting that out there. So I thought this is quite fun. Yeah, okay, so as our energy states deteriorate, so deteriorates our intelligence. And yeah, well, what can you say? What you can take away from this is, I think, 2 really important things. Number 1 is stressed people, whatever the hell it is that they're saying, isn't worth the paper it isn't printed on. Stressed people lose the bigger picture, they lose the ability to think straight, to think logically, and the more stressed they become, the worse this gets. There was an outburst over the last few years of this thing called a Karen, which is a woman of some kind who has just some insane screaming fit, and was recorded when that meltdown happened. And it was shared on social media, so there's lots and lots and lots of examples of that. That's when, our friend paranoia turns into being crazy at -7, this outburst of crazy energy. And what we have to understand is whatever such a person says in that state, it doesn't matter. It's just crazy talk. There is no truth in it. There's no reality in it. There's no logic in it. There's nothing in that can help us move forward. So when somebody screams abuse at you like that, please just be advised that this person is stress crazy and whatever they're saying means nothing. Nothing at all. We can start taking a person seriously above +3, I'd say. There we can actually listen to the content of what they're saying in the hope that something of value might be discovered there. What's the difference between crazy and insane? Somebody just asked. Well, crazy person's just screaming, freaking out, having a temper tantrum. Might be trying to physically attack somebody. An insane person thinks literally insane thoughts. Like there's no gravity. And we're all stuck to the ceiling. That kind of thing. Which is just totally reality diverged. There's a reality divergence that is occurring here. And I would say the reality divergence starts from +10. +10 is the only place where we can actually connect with real reality. And anything down from there is a reality divergence. The more the reality diverges from the actual real universe we're living in, the more painful, the more difficult, the more awful it becomes in a direct cause and effect. Okay, let's have a look. Let's have a look at what's going on. Let's say, Chimazia says, with time I understand more and more about the importance of our energy states shown on the energy chart. Yeah, it's as simple as it is, Chimazia and all others. There are levels and levels and levels of repercussions and depth to the modern energy chart. It unlocks a whole new world of understanding yourself, understanding other people. From my standpoint, research directions and approaches. It's incredibly information dense, considering it's so simple. Francesca says, I love this, Sylvia. It is very true that we hold all the range of intelligence and energy. Yes, we do. Not just we, but everybody does. Everybody does. People sitting in prisons, homeless people in the streets. Everybody does. And I love that about the modern energy chart, that it says to us, okay, yeah, sure, there have been times when we've been stupid, when our aspects were stressed, too stressed to think straight, and they made stupid decisions. But that doesn't mean me as a person that I am stupid. I can be the entire range of the modern energy chart. And I would like to prefer to get more of a taste of the higher side, of the modern energy chart. I want to be higher. I want my energy average to rise. And I really do want to do as many things as I possibly can do to make my living energy body happier, to pay attention when I am somehow making it unhappy, and it shows me this by me then feeling depressed or blue or angry. And see, when you are in the low energy states, whatever it is you are thinking isn't going to solve your problems. It's just not. Whatever solutions you think you're coming up with in those negative energy states will not solve your problems. For example, your neighbor plays loud music all the time and you're getting more and more stressed, more and more angry about it. And then the day comes when the solution appears as you're getting super angry at 3 o'clock in the night, and you go and take a pickaxe and you break into your neighbor's house and you hack them to death with a pickaxe. Okay, it solved the problem of the loud music at night, but now you're in prison, probably for the rest of your life, and there's a lot of noise in prisons overnight. So it really didn't solve the problem, did it? Just important to recognize that when we are entering low energy states and we're thinking these fool's thoughts, as I call them, what would a fool be thinking but further foolishness? Is what Lord Lucian said, and he's 100% right. When you're catching yourself thinking things like, "Oh, this is too much. I can't do this. I'm so weak." A great one I'm catching a lot at the moment is, "Oh, I'm not doing this right because I'm getting too old." That is a fool's thought. When I'm energy high and having fun, that would never occur to me to think that. So that's the moment, that's a trigger, it's a warning, it's a flag waving. "Oh, Sylvia, so you're getting too old, are you? Huh, where are you on the modern energy chart? Shouldn't you be doing something about this? Jump up and down. Give yourself a round of applause. Go out and breathe in the garden for 5 minutes, and then we'll discuss if you really are too old to open a can of pickled cucumbers. Come on, woman." We all have our moments where we think fool thoughts, where energy goes down quite quickly. This is often dependent also on physical states. If we're physically ill, it's much more likely we're going to be thinking depressing thoughts, if we're under chronic stress. But we must learn to get those flags, notice those flags when we're thinking fool's thoughts, and just saying, "No, this is not the truth. This is simply because I'm stressed." And that's a sort of a step forward to, controlling your emotions. Yes, that's very true. Chamazier says, "In survival mode, our intelligence is all about getting rid of that situation." Yeah, survival mode is deep stress, is dangerous, chronic stress. Somebody questioned me on this the other day because I said, raise energy first. Doesn't matter what situation you need to raise energy first. And so the guy's like, "Yeah, okay, so you're in a burning building and you really want to raise energy first before running out of the burning building." And I thought about it and I said, yeah, 100%. That is exactly the moment you want to take a moment. Assume the heart position. Even if you can't breathe in deeply because of all the heat and the smoke. Just come back to your senses briefly. It'll only take 5 seconds. Come back to your senses. Then all of a sudden you realize if you went that way, you probably die. You need to go that way. Absolutely 100%, no matter how critical this survival thing is. Just take a moment. take a moment. With practice, just taking a moment is like flicking a switch. We need high energy right now. This is what I need. High energy right now and first. I like that. That's good advice. I hope I will be heeding it myself in the future. Because I'm not sitting on a toadstool here, people. I'm not preaching, oh, I'm so wise and I'm so in control of my emotions. No, I'm not. Like everybody else, I'm up and down on the modern energy chart. Probably a lot more than a lot of other people. My energy system is extremely volatile. That's a great word for it. It's volatile. I wouldn't call it unstable. I'd call it volatile, very reactive. I don't know why that is, and I don't care because it has many benefits. Being able to shoot up to +10 quite quickly is one of them. Yeah, okay. So that was my rant about emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence. We both need emotional intelligence, but just intelligence. Just intelligence. So I would close with saying that your emotional intelligence increases exactly the same as your general intelligence increases. So how emotionally intelligent you are, at +10 you're an emotional genius. At +10 you're an emotional genius. Let's find more ways to get your energy body to more +10s. We can do that with tapping. We can do that with emo. We can certainly do it with Star Matrix. Which reminds me, I'm doing a masterclass tapping into Star Matrix in leave. Go and check it out if you're interested in taking part. It's a master class, so not necessarily for beginners. But yeah, finding ways to get to +10s more often will increase our emotional intelligence. But if we got some newbies here, some people who are new to modern energy, just start with the modern energy chart. Just trying to get it to turn itself. There it is. Please start with the modern energy chart itself. It's described nicely in my free book, which is called The Modern Energy Revolution, which you can get from goe.ac for free. The different energy states are described in it. And just hang it up on the fridge and start to map your personal experience and that of other people to the modern energy chart. And I promise you, your emotional intelligence will begin to increase from that day forward. And that will really, really be beneficial for your real life and for people you are dealing with. Ah, thank you very much for the virtual hugs. Cool. So, that was emotional intelligence. If you played the replay, please take a moment to put a like on the video and add a comment, even if it's just a little yay or well done or that was interesting, because that way YouTube knows that this is something that's interesting and might show it to other people who are actually looking for information on emotional intelligence. And I really do believe that what we have to offer here in the GOE is valuable and that more people should know it. And you can help by adding your likes, your shares, your comments. And I would be very, very grateful if you did. So with that in mind, I'm going to wish you a wonderful rest of the day, a fabulous week filled with star moments of insights, connection, and love. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again for next week's Energy Show, Sunday Live with Sylvia. Lots of love to you, and bye for now.